I was reviewing a contract when the call came in. My assistant buzzed, her voice clipped, nervous. "Mr. Blake, the police are on the line. It's about your son." At first, I didn't move. I just stared at the blinking light on the phone like it was some alien thing. You don't expect that kind of call not at noon, not on a Tuesday. Not ever. I snatched the receiver. "This is Adam Blake." "Mr. Blake, this is Officer Ramirez from Precinct 42. Your son Daniel, he's missing. Went missing during the lunch break at school." Silence. Not confusion. Just silence. Because the mind blanks out when the impossible tries to slip in. My voice cracked. "Are you sure?" "Yes, sir. We're at Edison Elementary now. We need you to come down immediately." I ended the call and dialed my wife before I could think. "Cassandra, we've been cold for months. Arguments about money, routines, my late nights, her detachment. But we had Daniel. We always had Daniel." She picked up after 3 rings. "It's Daniel," I said, already grabbing my keys. "He's missing. The police just—" She cut me off. "Deal with it alone." I stopped, frozen mid-step. "What did you just say?" "I'm busy." She hung up. "Busy?" I sat in the driveway for 15 seconds, heart pounding in my chest, fingers gripping the steering wheel hard enough to split the leather. My mind reeled. Maybe she was in shock. Maybe she didn't understand. But the words hadn't sounded confused. They were sharp, calculated, prepared. 40 minutes later, I pulled into Edison Elementary. The scene was already swarming with uniforms and panicked teachers. I spotted a detective in plain clothes, a tall man in a gray sport coat who looked like he'd slept in it. He held a tablet in one hand and wore the heavy look of someone who'd seen too much. "Mr. Blake?" he asked. "Yes. I'm Detective Thorne. Come with me." The principal's office was crowded and too bright. Surveillance screens glowed on one wall. Thorne tapped the tablet and turned it toward me. "This is 11:53 a.m. today. Lunch break." I leaned in. There was Daniel. Backpack half-slipped from one shoulder, heading toward the jungle gym. A figure entered the frame from the far left. Tall, adult, wearing a hoodie, jeans, and black gloves. I felt my stomach drop. The figure moved quickly. Not frantic, not hesitant. Just fast and deliberate. Daniel paused, looked up, then smiled. Smiled. The figure knelt, spoke to him. Then Daniel nodded and followed. Just like that. Gone. My vision blurred. I felt something cold grip the back of my neck. He knew them. I whispered. He trusted them. That's what it looks like. Facial recognition? No match. But here's the part we need you to see. Thorne skipped ahead. 2 minutes later, after Daniel and the stranger were gone, a woman walked into frame. My wife, Cassandra. She stood where Daniel had vanished, looked around, took out her phone, smiled, and left. No panic. No searching. No calls. "Wait," I stammered. "What the hell is this? Why was she there?" "That's what we were hoping you could tell us." My legs gave out, and I sat hard in the nearest chair. She'd known. She'd been there. And she hadn't called the cops. She'd smiled. They kept asking me questions I couldn't answer. "When was the last time your wife picked Daniel up from school? Has she ever mentioned a man in a hoodie? Is there any custody dispute?" No. 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 It was like being interrogated for a crime I didn't know I'd committed. "I don't understand," I told them, again. "She never said a word about coming here today. I didn't even know she was in the city." Detective Thorne folded his arms, tablet pressed to his side like a shield. "She didn't report him missing. We confirmed with the school. She saw the kid disappear and walked away." "Why?" "I don't know," I said. "But I did." Not fully. Not yet. But a suspicion had rooted in my gut, cold and violent, growing fast. She wanted him gone. Thorne's phone buzzed. He stepped away, murmured something into it, and then came back. "We pinged your wife's phone," he said. "She's at a property in Ravenhill. You know it." I blinked. "Ravenhill's 20 minutes from here." "What property?" He handed me his phone. A map. A house. Isolated. No neighbors for a quarter-mile. The listed owner? Blake Family Trust. My trust. "I didn't buy that," I said. "Your name's on the paperwork. Transferred into a trust 5 months ago. Looks like it was done through your family's estate planner." Estate planner? I was still stuck in the middle of my own life unraveling, and now we were diving into trusts and real estate law? Thorne nodded at one of the uniforms. "Have someone check that place out." Then to me, "You're coming downtown with us." The interrogation room was colder than the February wind outside. I wasn't a suspect. yet, but they were boxing me in, making sure I wasn't part of it. That's how they worked. I didn't blame them. I'd have done the same. They gave me coffee. I didn't drink it. Across from me, Thorne set down a folder. We dug a little, he said. Your wife's been busy. He slid photos across the table. Cassandra at a wine bar with a man in a navy coat. Cassandra at a hotel entrance. Cassandra withdrawing cash from an ATM downtown, $9, 501 transaction. You know him. The man. Early 40s. Trim beard. Tidy haircut. Could have been a tech guy or a realtor. No, I said. Never seen him. He's been with her a lot lately. No credit card purchases in her name for any hotels, but we've got surveillance of her entering 4 nights this week with him. Same guy. Same room. The air in the room got heavier. My throat burned. She's been lying to you, Thorne said. That's obvious. What's not obvious is how far this lie goes. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. I answered. A voice. Modulated. Distorted. Digital. Don't speak. Just listen. My hand gripped the phone like it might explode. You're not going to find him that way. Stop talking to the police. Who is this? I said, standing. Click. Thorne was already motioning. Trace it. Too late. The call was already dead. That night, I returned home alone. The house felt like a stranger. Daniel's room was untouched. His favorite hoodie still draped over the chair. Dinosaur socks in a pile near the bed. I sat on his floor. And broke. I didn't know how long I stayed there. Maybe an hour. Maybe 3. Eventually, I stood, walked to my study, opened the safe, and pulled out the black ledger I hadn't touched since I left my old life behind. My work was in cyber risk for Fortune 500 companies. I had clients who didn't want their secrets stolen, but I'd also helped a few who needed secrets found. I still had names, tools, connections. Cassandra thought I'd be helpless. She forgot who I used to be. She forgot that I don't forgive betrayal. At 2:17 a.m., I sat in front of 3 monitors in my study, the rest of the house still and silent. Daniel's room was just down the hall. Empty. That single fact beat against my ribs with a steady rhythm of dread, but I had work to do. And grief would have to wait. I hadn't used this rig in years. Triple encrypted VPN. Spoofed MAC addresses. A virtual sandbox that could peel apart the metadata of a ghost. If Cassandra had left a trail, I was going to find it, hell or high water. And she had left a trail. She just didn't think I'd ever follow it. My first stop was the title transfer for the Ravenhill property. The Blake Family Trust. But not my trust. A second one. Established 11 months ago. Blake Second Holdings LLC. The signature on the paperwork? Mine. Or rather, a convincing replica of it. I pulled the document's EXIF metadata. Timestamped PDF. Modified from an IP address routed through a coffee shop in Rainier Valley. I cross-referenced the security cam footage from that cafe. I still had access to a public sector scraping API I built in 2017. 10 minutes later, I had a snapshot. Cassandra, wearing a trench coat, sitting beside someone. The same man from the police photos. The man I didn't know, but who clearly knew me. The metadata from the document revealed the laptop used. A Surface Pro registered to Collins Enterprises, an architecture and urban planning firm in Seattle. So now the man had a name. Evan Collins. I called Derek. We hadn't spoken in over a year. Last time we did, I'd helped him recover $4. $3 million in ransomware payments for his security consultancy. He owed me. Jesus, he said after I filled him in. You think she forged your signature? I know she did. And Daniel, I think she's trying to take him away. Or worse, hand him over. To who? I don't know yet. Want me to run facial ID on this Evan guy? I already did. No priors. But something's off. No social activity until 5 years ago. No birth records before age 19. Like he appeared out of nowhere. Alias. Maybe. Or scrubbed clean. All right. I'll dig deeper. Use shadow channels only. If they know I'm looking, they'll bury everything, he finished. Exactly. By sunrise, I had a full mirror of Cassandra's emails. She used a third-party encryption plugin. Military grade. But it had one fatal flaw. Poor session key handling. Something I'd warned her about years ago. She never listened. The messages between her and Evan were careful. Mostly code. References to finalizing the exit strategy. Discussions about neutralizing risk. A message dated 3 days ago. He still doesn't suspect. He thinks he's in control. He's always needed to feel that way. But once the boy is in place, we can vanish. Vanishing. With my son, my vision went red at the edges. I closed the screen and stared at the wall. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a setup. I reached for my phone and called Cassandra. She answered on the third ring, her voice cool, composed. Adam, I want him back. A pause. Then, you're not thinking clearly. The police. Don't say one more word if it's a lie. Silence. Then something in her tone shifted. Cold, clinical. This is bigger than you understand. Try me. You've been monitored for months. Your systems. Your calls. The minute you make a wrong move, they will step in. They? She didn't answer. You know what I did before I started the firm? I said slowly. What I was trained to do. You walked away from that world. You shouldn't have reminded me how easy it is to go back. I hung up. 2 hours later, Derek texted. Got something. Collins used to work for Cypress Solutions. They're a black budget contractor. Surveillance. Off-book ops. I felt the last piece click into place. They weren't just stealing my son. They were erasing me from his life. And using me, my name, my trust, my money, to do it. They thought I'd be blind. They thought I'd be broken. They were wrong. I didn't shower. Didn't shave. I didn't sleep, either. I couldn't. Not with my son in the hands of two people who thought they were smarter than me. I knew what they were doing now. They were building a new life. And I was the part they needed to erase. But they'd miscalculated one critical variable. I don't go quietly. By 9:30 a.m., I was in a downtown parking garage, 2 levels below ground, sitting in the back of a black Tesla with encrypted glass. The man beside me wore a navy sweater and mirrored sunglasses, his beard neatly trimmed, his silence calculating. You said it was urgent, he finally said. And sensitive. You ever hear of Cypress Solutions? I asked. He didn't blink. That was enough. I need to know who's on their payroll. Specifically, an Evan Collins. Last seen working under an urban development front, Collins Enterprises. But he's not designing parks. He's orchestrating disappearances. The man's lips thinned. And you? His mark. That got his full attention. This is personal. This is surgical. I need to find where they're holding my son. A pause. Then, what do you want me to do? I handed him a sealed flash drive. Inside are partial logs, financial backtraces, obfuscated VPNs, 2 burner phone pings. He's careful, but not that careful. And your wife? She's the insider. She's helping them. Maybe for money. Maybe for something else. I'll figure that out later. Right now, I need location. And leverage. He took the drive, nodded once, then opened the door and vanished. I stared at the empty seat beside me. Time to set the trap. Back in my study, I created a new identity. Not a fake one. A real one. Something believable, fully supported by digital footprints and a lightly buried trail of credentials. Adam Hale, whistleblower, freelance risk consultant, and disgruntled former cybersecurity officer for multiple large clients, some of which were known to contract with Cypress Solutions. I posted a short message on an encrypted forum favored by former agency types. Cypress Ghost Op Covert Custodial Extraction. Target was a minor. No legal paperwork. Seeking buyer for documentation. I attached a teaser. 1 screen capture. Timestamped footage of Evan Collins at Edison Elementary with Daniel, pulled from school cameras. Blurred just enough to appear like a leak. Then I waited. 3 hours later, someone tried to trace the IP. 5 hours later, I received a burner call. I want to talk, said a voice. Male. Measured. Confident. Then talk. You're about to involve people you shouldn't. Funny. I thought you already involved someone who shouldn't be involved, my son. Silence. You're bluffing, the voice said. No. I'm baiting. You bit. I ended the call. Then texted Derek. They're watching. Good. Let's show them what they missed. That night, I sent Cassandra an email from an anonymous address. Subject line, we know what you did. Attached, a soundless 10-second clip of her and Evan entering the Ravenhill property. I knew they'd return to the house. My contact confirmed it, via a parked drone, low-orbit camera, and motion detection triggers tied to the front gate. 30 minutes later, her response came in. Leave it alone. It's over. We're better for him now. He deserves a future without you. The words weren't rage. They weren't even defensive. They were calm. Strategic. Like a negotiation with a man who no longer had leverage. I smiled. Because she was wrong. I returned to the school. Not as Adam Blake, concerned father, but as Adam Hale, systems auditor. The school had hired me once to review their firewalls. The tech director still thought I worked for the same firm. I told him there had been a breach, that it might have compromised the school's entire network. He gave me 20 minutes alone with their data center. In 11, I had what I came for: full badge swipe logs, camera records, and a data file uploaded by an external USB the day before Daniel vanished. It was encrypted, but I recognized the signature. It wasn't Cassandra's. It was mine, cloned and modified. They were building a case against me. By midnight, Derek called. I found the location. Where? An offshore holding account lists a private residence in British Columbia. Isolated. Registered to a dummy corporation based in Luxembourg, tied to a larger trust that just received a $100,000 wire yesterday. And Collins. There. Motion-sensed camera feed pinged 2 days ago. Matching timestamps with a red SUV. Plates registered to a rental in Cassandra's name. My jaw tightened. And Daniel? Unclear. But the property has a nursery wing. Converted recently. Photos of baby furniture from an online order history. I didn't say anything for a long time. Then, send me the coordinates. I stood in Daniel's room one more time. Ran my hand over the dinosaur quilt we picked out together last spring. I'd packed a go bag. Burner phone. Cold cache. Backup drive with all the surveillance. This wasn't vengeance. Not yet. This was reclamation. I wouldn't confront Cassandra first. I wouldn't threaten Evan. I'd go to the house. Alone. To find my son. And see what they built. I crossed the border just after 2 a.m. The road slick with mist and half-frozen rain. British Columbia stretched wide and quiet beneath a slate-gray sky, its forests endless, unwelcoming, and perfect for hiding something or someone. The coordinates Derek gave me marked a dead end off a forgotten service road, 30 miles from the nearest gas station. My tires crunched over gravel, and the trees pressed in like sentries. Then I saw it. A modern build. All glass and concrete. Set back from the road behind an automatic gate with infrared sensors and a coated pad. Someone had put real money into making it look like a high-end retreat. But it was a cage. I parked behind a thicket and watched. 2 hours. Nothing. No movement. Just before dawn, lights flicked on in the east wing. A faint glow behind closed curtains. A silhouette passed, tall, male. Collins. I waited until the forest turned blue with early light before circling to the back, where a utility shed sat 20 yards from the house. I slipped inside, crouched behind a rolled tarp, and pulled out my equipment. Thermal scope. Mini drone. Parabolic mic. I'd spent years building defenses for people afraid of ghosts, hackers, spies, corporate saboteurs. Now I was the one hunting shadows. I launched the drone and watched it lift, silent as breath. Inside the house, 3 heat signatures. One in the bedroom, one moving through the kitchen, and one smaller. In the far right room. Motionless. Then shifting. Small, restless patterns. A child. I waited until mid-morning before making my move. The side door was alarmed, but the shed had a direct fiber line routed underground for power. I clipped it at the junction. No electricity. No Wi-Fi. 10 seconds later, Collins stepped outside, cursing into a dead phone. I used the distraction to slip through the garage. Inside, the place smelled like pine cleaner and fresh drywall. It was too perfect, like a showroom. No toys. No artwork. No signs of life except for a plate in the sink and a half-folded blanket on the couch. Then I heard it. Laughter. Soft. From the far room. My son's voice. I crept down the hall. The door was cracked open. And there he was. Daniel. Sitting on a plush rug, building a puzzle of a rocket ship. Clean clothes. Brushed hair. A faint bruise under his left eye. My stomach twisted. Daniel. I whispered. He froze. Then turned. Slowly. Dad? His voice was small. Hesitant. Like he wasn't sure if I was real. I crossed the room in 2 steps and dropped to my knees. I'm here, I said, grabbing him, pulling him into my chest. I'm here. He tensed. Not afraid, but confused. Like he'd been told something else entirely. You're not supposed to be here, he said. Mom said. You went away. What did she tell you? He didn't answer. Just stared past me. Then I heard the sound of a door creaking. Daniel. Collins. Footsteps. I stood. Fast. He entered, saw me, and froze. Our eyes locked. You shouldn't be here, he said. Yeah, I replied. You've said that before. Through a burner phone. He didn't deny it. Instead, He stepped forward slowly, hands visible, not threatening, but calm. You're putting him in danger. You already did that. I mean legally. He gestured toward Daniel. If you touch him again, it's kidnapping. I'm his father. No longer recognized. Cassandra filed for full custody under a protective clause. Emergency status. Emotional instability. Surveillance of your firm shows erratic behavior. Dangerous patterns. I laughed, sharp and bitter. You really think that'll hold up when I show a judge your fake trust, your surveillance, your abduction? He tilted his head. You're not recording this conversation. No, I said. But I don't need to. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a flash drive. This has every financial transaction. Wire transfer. GPS ping. The school camera footage. The forged documents. He didn't even blink. You're not the first man we've buried legally. That was when I understood something crucial. This wasn't just about Cassandra leaving me. It wasn't about money. It was about reprogramming a child. Removing a father from a narrative. Installing a new one. Why? I asked him. Collins was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, because you don't fit. Fit what? The life she's building. The one Daniel deserves. You wouldn't understand. He turned his back like he was done speaking. And that was a mistake. I tackled him. Not clean. Not tactical. Just desperate and full of rage. We crashed into the hallway wall, framed photos shattering. He slammed an elbow into my ribs, but I twisted his wrist, slammed it against the ground, and pressed a knee into his spine. He gasped. You're going to jail, I hissed. You and her. You'll never win. We'll see. I stood up, grabbed Daniel's hand, and walked straight out the front door. No alarms. No sirens. Just wind and trees and freedom. For now. In the car, Daniel looked up at me. Are we going home? Not yet. Where? Someplace safe. He was quiet. Then, is Mom going to be there? No. Good. My chest ached at that. I drove 6 hours south, Daniel asleep in the back seat, his head tilted at the same angle he used to nap in his car seat when he was 3. The farther we got from that house in the woods, the more I felt my old self returning. Not the husband. Not the business owner. But the man who planned for every contingency, who trusted no one, and who never, ever lost a war. I brought Daniel to a private cabin outside Spokane, one I'd used during a major cyber breach investigation 2 years ago. No smart locks. No cameras. No Wi-Fi. Just wood, silence, and a generator that purred like a sleeping wolf. After getting Daniel settled with food and a warm blanket, I stepped outside, closed the door, and placed a call. Derek, I said. It's done. You have him. He's safe. Now it's time to turn the whole thing inside out. Step 1. Re-establish control of my identity. Cassandra and Collins had forged signatures, created a trust, wired money through dummy LLCs. Their case would only stand if my legal presence remained passive. So I flipped the board. I filed an emergency motion with my lawyer. Someone new, someone they didn't know. Tasha Lynn, a ruthless child custody expert I'd quietly followed for months while preparing for this exact possibility. She filed for a protective custody injunction. Attached to it were preliminary exhibits. Video surveillance of Collins with Daniel. Forensic audits of the forged trust. Cassandra's message implying consent to Daniel's removal. That same morning, I released a sealed data packet to 3 reporters and 1 federal agent, anonymously. It included timestamps, payment records, and the paper trail of Collins' involvement with Cypress Solutions. I didn't ask them to write a story. I asked them to ask questions. Questions that would land hard in the inboxes of regulators and oversight committees and political donors who'd paid for plausible deniability. Cassandra made her move 24 hours later. I woke up to a court summons delivered by private courier. Motion for full custody. Filed under grounds of parental instability. The affidavit was packed with buzzwords: erratic behavior, emotional volatility, alleged threats, claims of past paranoia. It ended with a single line in bold. Mr. Blake has become a danger to his child and to himself. It was a clever play. If I reacted emotionally, it would only prove her point. So I didn't. Instead, I used it. At the emergency hearing, Cassandra walked in with perfect posture, hair pulled into a soft, strategic knot, dressed like a woman grieving the loss of control, but trying to remain poised for her son. Her lawyer was even better. Sympathetic tone, practiced concern, leading the judge to believe I was a threat without ever saying it outright. They had no idea I was about to flip the room. Tasha stood up and began with 3 words. Fraud. Abduction. Conspiracy. She submitted our evidence. Forensic proof of document forgery. Video of Cassandra and Collins at the Ravenhill house. Email headers tied to her burner phone. Drone footage of Daniel inside a non-residential structure registered to a shell company. The school footage. The judge's demeanor changed visibly. His brow tightened. His pen stopped moving. Then Tasha dropped the final nail. We also submit Exhibit H, a psychological risk assessment conducted by a former federal forensic profiler. It was a profile of Evan Collins, his ties to covert influence operations, emotional control tactics, and historical use of minors to manipulate narratives. The judge looked at Cassandra. Ms. Blake, would you like to respond? Her voice wavered, just for a second. I was manipulated. I didn't know everything Evan was doing. You were seen smiling at the school exit 2 minutes after your son was abducted, Tasha snapped. Would you describe that as manipulation or premeditation? Cassandra paled. The judge called for a recess. Outside, Cassandra found me in the hallway. Her voice was lower now. No ice. No confidence. Just weariness. You always knew how to turn people, she said. I didn't turn them. I showed them the truth. He's my son too, Adam. Then why did you let a stranger take him from a schoolyard while you stood there doing nothing? He would have had a better life. That stopped me. Not because it shocked me. Because she believed it. You didn't just want to leave me, I said. You wanted to erase me. You were always the strong one. The careful one. You never needed anyone. But I did. I was drowning. You could have told me. I did. In my own ways. But you never listen unless it's a threat. I nodded slowly. Then stepped closer. This wasn't betrayal, Cassandra. This was war. And you picked the wrong opponent. That afternoon, the judge issued a temporary restraining order against her. Evan Collins was named in an active criminal investigation. A federal inquiry into Cypress Solutions had officially begun. Daniel was awarded into my temporary sole custody. The case wasn't over, but the reversal had begun. That night, Daniel asked me, "Is Mom going to jail?" "I don't know yet," I said. He was quiet for a long time. Then, did I do something wrong? The ache in my chest felt like a blade. No, I said. You did everything right. You waited. You stayed strong. And you told the truth. He nodded, then leaned into me, and fell asleep. 3 days after the hearing, my face made the news. Not by name, but close enough. Anonymous whistleblower exposes off-books custody extractions allegedly linked to defense contractor. The article hit just before noon. The details were vague, but deliberate. Forged trusts, surveillance infrastructure, falsified psychological profiles, enough to catch the attention of anyone who ever signed an NDA they didn't understand. I hadn't published it, but someone I fed the evidence to had. The message was clear, the veil was lifting, and someone high up was getting nervous. The call came at 2:11 p.m. Block number. Mr. Blake, the voice said, smoother than the others, American but educated abroad. Let's not waste each other's time. Let's not. You've stirred a hornet's nest. You're not the first father who's lost a child to the machine, but you might be the first one who dragged the machine into daylight. Good, I said. I hope it chokes on it. A pause. Do you understand who you're really threatening here? You know what I do for a living. Do you understand what you're threatening? Silence. Then, meet me tonight. 10 p.m. Pier 6. Come alone. The line went dead. I left Daniel with Derek at the Spokane cabin. Told him I was going to fix things. He didn't ask questions. He just nodded and hugged me tighter than I expected. It was snowing by the time I reached Pier 6. The river was a slab of black glass, the air quiet enough to hear breath. The man stood under a rusted canopy light, hands in his coat, posture calm but wired, like someone used to carrying a gun even when protocol said not to. He looked maybe 50. Civilian now, but his stance screamed former field operative. You've made powerful people uncomfortable, he said. Good. I intend to keep going. Why go this far? Because you came for my son. No, he said softly. We came for what your wife offered. I stiffened. What does that mean? She pitched the job. She built the file. She sold the narrative. Collins was the delivery man, but Cassandra designed the weapon. I swallowed hard. You're lying. Am I? He handed me a folder. This is the pitch deck she sent us. Inside were 10 pages of dossiers, performance summaries, an annotated psychological profile of me. Subject, Adam Blake. instability risk, emotional suppression, possible coercive control behaviors, career dominance, high functioning, low empathy. She'd weaponized everything I'd ever done right. Twisted it. Sold it. She called it Project Phoenix. Said she was saving her son from a suffocating legacy. I kept flipping pages. I couldn't stop. There was even a custody schedule mock-up before she filed anything with the court. Why are you showing me this? I said, voice low. Because you were supposed to go quietly. But you didn't. And now the optics are radioactive. You're not a threat we can remove. You're a liability we need to manage. I raised an eyebrow. And you think I'll just stop? No. But I think we can offer something you want more than vengeance. He pulled out a second folder. Photos. Dozens. Other fathers. Other mothers. Children removed in the dead of night. Cases framed as abuse, instability, endangerment. All tied to the same shell infrastructure that Collins used. You want justice? He asked. Help us burn the whole thing down. I stared at the faces, at the names, and at the classified stamp on the bottom corner of one document. Tier 3 Domestic Psychological Realignment Pilot. Why are you giving me this? Because you didn't fold. And because you understand systems better than most. And the people behind it? Start at Cyprus. Follow the funding. Follow the silence. He handed me a burner phone. Use that when you're ready. Then he walked into the snow and vanished. Back at the cabin, I watched Daniel sleep. He stirred a little, then blinked at me. You're back. I am. He looked past me. Did you find out who did it? Yes. Why? I couldn't bring myself to say your mother sold you. Not yet. So I said, because some people think they know what's best for everyone, even if they have to lie to prove it. He was quiet, thoughtful, then said, Are we going to stop them? I smiled. We are.